In this episode of The Tech John, we discuss social media companies paying a Kentucky school district $27 million over addictive products. Token maxing turns out not to be the flex companies thought it would be. And VC funding for black-funded companies are both up and woefully down at the same time. We've got all this and more for you in episode 229 of The Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host. I'm not your host. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
You're our folks and our hosts. and coming out of Philly, it's your girl, Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. do not go see Backrooms. Terrible.
Backrooms.
Terrible. For somebody who does not understand or did not watch the short web series, Backrooms is based on a YouTube mini series about they find extra rooms in the back of in the movie, a furniture store. And then what all happens after that.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch the YouTube web series and you're familiar with the lore of the show, it makes sense. But if you just saw that movie like we did and was like, oh, that looks interesting.
Right.
And it looks kind of, me and my wife had already watched a couple of those suspense, not horror movies, but like real suspenseful, like, Weapons, for example. We watched that too. And that was kind of like, y'all not going to tell us anything about like any sort of backstory, any sort of exposition, but it was interesting enough to where we were like, all right, well, let's see if we can watch some more. And then, so we was watching something on YouTube, saw the trailer for Backrooms, stars Chiwetel. Yeah. And he's in it, and it looked interesting. So we're like, let's go watch it. Makes absolutely, positively no sense.
Well, the fact
whatsoever.
that it's an A24 movie also, I think, plays in there. That studio tends to pump out some weird stuff.
And I'm cool with weird. I just need to understand what the weirdness is, right? They don't give you no backstory. They don't give you no exposition. They don't give you no sort of path whatsoever. It's like, well, what am I supposed to make of this? What am I supposed to make of this? And then at the end, something happens and you're kind of like, all right, well, what does that mean?
Right.
Credits.
And left you with more questions than answers.
Left you with way more questions. And I appreciate movies that don't neatly box everything up at the end. I'm okay with leaving a little bit up to interpretation. But if you start from square one and you're showing me stuff and taking me somewhere, and then the place you take me don't explain it at all, I'm like, what did I just watch? And that is the feeling I got after watching Backrooms. What did I just watch? And they claim it's going to be sequels. I don't care enough to go watch a sequel.
Yeah, it felt like it was given Severance to me a little bit, just because of the aesthetic, basically.
Right. Because it's filmed back in the 90s, so it's got the 90s cars, the 90s clothes, the 90s VHS
and
type.
the big empty room just was very Severance-esque. But I was never planning to go see it, and now this sort of confirms
This is what happens when you say, you know what? I really don't normally do stuff like this, but let me go ahead and try. This is why I don't do that.
Yeah.
See, you got to give it a try. Come on, you got to keep the spontaneity alive.
I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done.
So
I'm done.
I'm going to go see The Odyssey. That's the type of movie that I like to see. There will be fight scenes that aren't necessary. There'll probably be explosions of stuff happening 6,000 years ago. And why did that explode? I don't know why it exploded, but it will.
But I do want to see it. I don't want to pay to go see it because I feel like it's going to be super long. And I don't really like seeing movies over about 2 hours, 2:15 in the theater. I'll watch that when it comes out, on a streaming service because it does look good.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you watch the web series and you know what's going on from the web series, because the web series gives you a little bit more explanation. They kind of explain a little bit more about what's going on in the web series. In the movie, they don't do none of that. And maybe they just assume
I didn't
But
even
it's
know it
just
was
like
a
it's a
web
little
series.
YouTube web series. It ain't super popular, so
Yeah, it was
they
very
could do
niche.
that,
It's a
right?
very niche thing.
They could do that if it was the Avengers, right? We'd be like, all right, we kind of know the backstory to where they could do something. We'd be like, all right, we'll give it a shot. But they weren't big enough to do what they just did, and it's just like that's why I don't do stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you.
and
I
it
very
takes
rarely
too much.
try new stuff when it comes to movies because if I'm bored,
So let me get this straight. I will try new stuff, but not spend $50-$60 to
No,
go
I'm not.
do it.
That's the
after movie
thing.
tickets,
Movies
after the
are
food.
way too expensive to
No,
just be
done.
popping
I'm
in a
done.
theater
I'm
and
done.
saying, "Oh, let
Nope.
me go check this out." I have to really
Nope.
have already
And we did it and got
expressed
burned.
an interest in seeing this film before I'm going to spend some money on it. Now, I'll watch anything sitting on my couch.
Thank you.
But not paying. Yeah, movies is too expensive.
I'm done. At Avengers, I'll go see when Avengers come out in December. I'll go see it. But anything in between that, I'm waiting till it come on TV or on
So
stream.
Ray said she liked The Mandalorian and Grogu. But I didn't.
Because
There
it's
were
Star
mixed
Wars.
reviews
I'll watch it
on that.
when that comes on Disney. I'll watch it. I'm not going to the movie to see that. But
I
for me,
could be
Spider-Man.
convinced to go
Spider-Man don't
to.
miss. I'm gonna go see Spider-Man.
No, I'm gonna go see
I'm gonna go see
Spider-Man.
the Odyssey. Probably won't miss. I'm gonna go see that. There's probably
I
another
would
movie
go
or two
to
that
a
I'll go see,
matinee
but
of The
yeah.
Mandalorian and Grogu. I would absolutely go to a matinee.
Backrooms ruined it for a summer of movies for me.
The whole summer, Terrance?
The whole
Heck,
summer.
you didn't even
Not
get to
going back to
Terrance
the
said,
movies.
I'm off movies
You
altogether.
didn't even get out the month of May. It's like we just now.
I would go see Mandalorian at the matinee, definitely.
All right, for this week in movies, let's move on to one of my favorite things to do. Y'all, we got a new patron. So, and when we get new patrons, I like to stick it right up the top of the show. So in case they don't make it to the end, they can get their shout out. But Skip L. Ives has become a patron and is holding the Tech John down. And so we just want to shout you out and say, hey, thank you so much for what you're doing, because it's folks like you that allow us to do this show and bring the tech to you the way we do. So folks who are interested in also becoming a patron, just like Skip has become, you can head over to the Tech John. That's the techjawn.com/Patreon. And you're going to find multiple tiers over there, any one of which is going to get you access to our live stream and after party, and everything that you do helps us, as I said, bring this tech to you the way that we bring it to you. So once again, thank you, Skip L. Ives. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into some of this tech. Terrance, you're up first. You had a story about looks like some social media companies had to pay a little bit of money to a Kentucky school district. So what's going on?
And not just Kentucky, but it's going to grow from there because of this judgment, right? Meta, Snap, TikTok, and YouTube collectively agreed to pay $27 million to settle a lawsuit by a rural Kentucky school district alleging their platforms are addictive and fueled a teen mental health crisis, with Meta paying the most to the tune of $9 million. Like I mentioned, this is just Kentucky to start with, but larger districts like Los Angeles and NYC public schools together are serving over 1.2 million students, and their cases are quote unquote in the queue. So sounds like Meta, TikTok, and others who were found at fault and had to pay this seemingly measly $27 when you add up their profits or whatever may seem like, it's just a drop in the bucket. But with this setting precedent probably for New York and LA to come after these companies that serve millions of students, this may get a little bit bigger than just Meta and the rest of them just sending some money and then sending them on their way. So I guess my question to you all is, now that we've covered stories and we're talking about a story now to where social media platforms are starting to be held liable, is that going to open up the floodgates, or are these companies going to, or is this administration going to help these companies kind of duck and dodge these type of lawsuits as they've always done?
I think this is a good start. I am disappointed that the school district actually wanted 60 million and only ended up getting 27 million.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, something is better than nothing. But, to use one of Robb's phrases, that money is literally a rounding error.
Oh, they've already made it.
I don't even think it's
since we've been talking about it.
Right. It's since we've been talking for the last 15 minutes. So, it definitely is not hurting them. And I think their insurance will probably take care of the rest of the lawsuits. But anything we can do, I think, to get what these companies are doing into public record is
Mm-hmm.
good. And the fact that, they settled basically is an admission of some level of guilt when it comes to making the platforms as addictive as they do. And hopefully that signals people to start making different choices. I don't think these lawsuits are ever going to get the companies themselves to change their behavior, because they're just not going to lose enough money to be forced to make the platforms less addictive. That's not going to happen. But hopefully more people will understand that that's what they're doing, and change their own behavior, and change the way they allow their children to engage with these platforms, to preserve mental health and well-being on the front end, basically, because you're not going to get it on the back end. You're not going to convince these companies that, oh, these things you're doing are wrong and they're harming people and you should stop, and there shouldn't be an infinite scroll, and there shouldn't be a this and there shouldn't be a that. That's not going to happen. And even the money is not going to force them to do it, because again, they have insurance for stuff like that, stuff like this. So hopefully with enough awareness and visibility around what these companies are actually doing, we'll get some change on the front end in how we choose to engage with the platforms.
So one question before I dive into what I have to say: when you say that they know they did something wrong, are you saying that, well, they know they did something wrong? Because I don't think in a settlement they would ever admit that they've done anything wrong.
No, they're never going to admit
Okay,
it.
so yeah,
But I
I
think
just wanted to clarify that.
the assumption will be, since they
Okay, yeah,
settled,
that makes
that
sense.
they're aware that you know what I mean. Most
Mhm.
people believe when a case gets settled, and a party gets awarded a judgment, that whether the other party ever
Had
admits
to admit,
wrongdoing or not,
right?
they know that something, they had to pay
They
them
got an
something
L. They caught an L.
they took that L.
The lack of
Yeah,
admission is for legal purposes, not public opinion. So
absolutely,
exactly. So I just wanted to make sure that was
absolutely.
clear. So here's my take on this. I think, and this isn't just a United States thing, I think that this is around the world thing, that basically governments are starting to look at social media like cigarette companies. Not
Mhm.
only is this stuff bad for us and we're now figuring it out, y'all have known for decades that this stuff was bad, and you were actually
Y'all
doing
designed it
things.
to be
You were
that way.
designing it to be maximally, addictive for children. These are things that you've actually done. So
Mhm.
I think that you're going to see basically everyone that can start to go after them like they went after cigarette companies. Once they understood that cigarette companies they were putting these things out, that they are as addictive as they are, and that that they cause cancer, and you're doing things to make them more addictive, even though that that these things are doing what they do. I believe that a lot of municipalities understand that Facebook is not just, they don't just have a product that's addictive. They have made a product that they have made addictive purposefully to target children, which is
Mhm.
like what cigarette companies have done, which is a
Same as
special kind
cigarette
of a,
company. I mean, that's why they made Joe Camel a cartoon.
literally.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They did the same thing, and but people still smoke. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, it will help in a sense.
Mhm.
And we may get a Surgeon General. Well, we already had a Surgeon General warning about social media back in the Biden administration. I forget the guy's name, the Indian guy that was the Surgeon General at the time, had already put out a
Mm-hmm.
warning about social media. And I'm not saying it's not going to do anything, and it's useful, because somebody's behavior will change because of this. And if we only get one, it was all worth it. But it's not necessarily going to change the companies and how they operate, is what I believe.
Yeah, it's not going to be 27 million or even the 60 million that they asked for that's going to move the needle. It's going to be 16 billion, 16.9.
Mhm.
When that kind of settlement has to happen, or that kind of judgment comes down, that's when they're going to say, oh, we really can't do this
Mm-hmm.
anymore, and we need to figure this out and do business a different way. But until that
So, do
number
you
is
think
that
that's a
big,
possibility? Do you think that's a possibility now that we, like I said, we're talking about one? I think we talked about a story maybe a month or so ago to where social media companies had to fork up some dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that happening now that schools, now that individuals are starting to say, yo, we gonna fight Goliath and we may get a couple pocket, some pocket change, but at the same time we fought them and there was something that came out of it. Do you think that's going to cause more individuals, in this case, like I read in the story, New York and LA are kind of like, we trying to do this too, and they service more students, which means more parents, which means more concerned individuals. Do you think that starts to open up the floodgates? Or is this just like a drop in the bucket and we wait 2-3 years and then something else comes up? Or do we start to see like a flood of these cases start to come through?
Oh, because settlements are happening, or in some cases, the rulings are going against the social media companies. I think that you're going to continue to see case after case after case
Oh
until
yeah, people gonna be jumping on the bandwagon.
they're going
Absolutely.
to definitely do it, and there will be lawyers that are
Hmm.
going to try to turn them into state class actions, if not federal class actions. They're going. That's going to happen. Now,
Hmm.
what does all that mean? I don't know. Like I said, I can't call it. These
I
type
mean,
of
I think
companies
we get the
tend to be
same
able to
type
get
of
away with these kind of things. Cigarette companies are still
we
in business, doing fine.
That's what I'm saying. And we'll see, some of the regulation, like, you can't a teenager can't go into a store, well, depending on the store. They can't go into a store and buy a pack of cigarettes anymore.
Hmm.
We have that law on the books. Like, the corner store different, but most stores will not sell cigarettes to minors.
Hmm.
And so that type of thing we'll probably see, like, they're going to probably try to do more with the bans and the age gated enforcement and things like that. But at the end of the day, people, you're really probably not putting that genie back in the bottle on from their end. Like I said, we get parents and schools to truly implement, no phones in schools across the board, and parents holding off, wait until eighth or whatever, and actually legitimately putting some guardrails around device use in the home, because that's where it starts. It started when you gave your 7-year-old a phone. You know what I mean? It didn't start with Meta. It started when you gave your 7-year-old a phone. And so, like, are we going to start to see, I think we will start to see more of a resurgence of, again, catching it on the front end instead of trying to make it up on the back end.
Yeah, no, I wonder if there are settlements, if there are jury verdicts, or whatever the case is, judges rule, however things go. Will you start to see some of that money go into ads against the platforms? If you remember, there was a time when there was ad after ad after ad against cigarettes. There was the
Hmm.
cigarette companies had to pay for it. They had to pay for negative advertising for themselves. And then, I don't know that it worked. Well, I guess it was.
And now
I
they
think it's
can't
safe to say that
advertise at all on TV
yeah,
anymore. So
can't
maybe
even
that's
advertise
we
at all.
get that from Meta and them.
So I do wonder if we eventually will see that, but the tide seems to have turned to where Earth now is aware that, hey, this is really really bad for children, and most children have access to social media. So if most of them have access to it, and it's really bad for many of them's mental health, the argument is going to be made. Well, not every single children is going to have adverse effects. You're right. Some won't. Some are more resilient than others, and they will have zero effects from it. But the data is there. It affects children adversely in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
one thing that I think will start to happen is that if these companies ultimately have to change, they'll change. Like I think Meta's future is not necessarily social media in the way that we know it. They're not trying to get rid of the social media business as it exists, but I think they are aware that this game we've been playing may have come to an end, or may be coming to an end. So I think they're trying to shift more into advertising, more into artificial intelligence, all these kind of things that can keep the company going on if the social media play in the way that we know it today doesn't exist. And the other thing they can do is just don't focus on children. Keep doing what you do. Like the adults, that are being
There's enough
affected by
adults
this.
out here
They're
that
adults.
will stay scrolling forever,
Yeah.
and it's just, yeah, it's like I said, I think we will see the behavior around, how early kids get devices, how early they're allowed on these platforms. I'm hoping we see that behavior change as a result of this, and put some of those cigarette type restrictions in place on the back end.
We are all old enough to remember the cigarette candy, that there were little,
Mhm.
you got a box of cigarette candies, and you could put a cigarette and you could blow sugar smoke out of the candy. That was something that
Yep.
existed when we were children. That doesn't exist anymore. I actually had a cap gun, had multiple of them. You could buy guns that had explosive in them for your children at the grocery
Cap
store.
guns were dope.
They weren't
Because
they?
I would just get the roll of the little caps and hit them with rocks
Yep.
and make them pop, and just I didn't have the
Exactly.
actual gun.
But yeah, they were selling replicas of guns with actual gunpowder in grocery stores when we were kids. They don't do that anymore. So,
Solar Plexus Studio says, and the bubblegum cigars. I
oh
remember
yeah,
those too.
yeah. So, the Big League Chew, where we're not going to
They still make
we're
that.
not going to
I've
give kids
seen that.
snuff, but let's make it look like you got to go to like
I've
Cracker Barrel or
I've
somewhere to
seen
get it.
that.
It's not
I've
regular
still. I
stuff.
mean, it might have been in a bootleg dollar store
Mm.
where it was coming from Mexico or some shit. But I still see Big League Chew in stores.
But it's just like
Definitely.
stuff change. I mean, we used to be able to buy, sparklers. I mean, there's just all kind of stuff that we said, you know what, these probably aren't good for children. Let's change. Seat belts are a thing now. Car seats are a thing now. We used to, my grandfather wanted to be thrown clear. So, like I said, so am I optimistic that things will get better? Yes. Do I think that these companies are going to get put out of business because of their business practices?
No,
Absolutely,
absolutely not.
Absolutely
No.
not. Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
So, Steph,
They'll evolve.
this next story is one you stuck in here. And this one is really interesting. I read both of these articles in detail, and they were not short, about token maxing. So tell us, number one, what token maxing is, and then explain to us why it ain't what companies thought it was going to be.
I found it very interesting because it was a huge thing at one point where so token maxing is the concept. So to use AI at scale, it requires tokens. So a token to generate the words that the AI chatbot spits out when you ask it something. It require that level of energy and compute power and all that
Measured by a token.
is measured by a
Mhm.
token. So a
Mhm.
token, I think they said, is like a word and a half of an output from an AI chatbot. So if I say, what's the weather today, and it outputs it's 79 degrees, it's 79 degrees cost 3 tokens, 4 tokens, something like that, to even just output the compute power it took to output it's 79 degrees cost 4 tokens. So companies have been telling their employees to
Go
max
ham.
out the number
Mhm.
of tokens so it can look like they're really using these AI tools. Because I think, to Terrance's point, he always says, AI is a solution looking for a problem. None of these people were really using these tools in the way that the companies felt like was making them get their money's worth. So they're like, now we need y'all to max out these tokens so that we can feel like we're being productive. And, to the point where these companies are literally spending hundreds of $1 million a month on these tokens when they could just be paying employees a fraction of this
Isn't
cost
that
and
ironic?
getting
Isn't
the
that
same
ironic?
and getting more productivity out
Ain't
of
that
the actual
ironic?
human employees. So, companies had gone so far as to put leaderboards in their offices to see who was using the most tokens, to try to say, okay, look how many tokens we use. We must be X orders of magnitude more productive than company Y. Company X must be more productive. But it turns out that is not the case at all. Honestly, it did seem like token maxing was just a flex for a lot of these companies because they had the capital in place to pay for it. It was like, look at what we can afford to pay for. Oh, are we maxing out tokens at $1 trillion? You know what I mean? It was really just Silicon Valley bros, playing, having a pissing contest basically to see who could max out the most tokens because they had the most money available to do so. Well, now that money is starting to dry up real quick because them tokens go quick, and Amazon in particular, they're all dialing back. They're all dialing way back. But Amazon in particular had a tote board, if you will, had a leaderboard of token use, and they're shutting it down because people were just gaming the system. They was asking AI bullshit just to keep their name at the top of the leaderboard for the tokens, and there is no it's almost an inverse proportion, but there's definitely no, exponential curve that shows the more tokens you use, the more productivity you get out of these AI tools. So, folks start looking at that balance sheet and start seeing all that money going out, and now they got to dial again, got to rein it back in the same way, Salesforce and other companies had to rehire a bunch of people that they let go behind AI. Now these people that thought token maxing was this flex, now have to dial that back in because it's costing them too much money and they're not seeing anywhere near the ROI for it.
Just so ironic. And this is why I ain't going to say bubble, but
they are saying that. They are saying we might be on that AI bubble right now.
I say it's not going to burst. I mean, I say that. But it's going to slow all the way back down. Not because what I've been saying, it kills the trees and it costs so much, it pollutes the air. And
they don't care about that.
They don't care nothing about that. The reason why AI is going to slow down is because can't nobody afford it.
Can't nobody afford it.
The companies are not going to be able to afford it. The cities and the local counties and the states that these data centers are in are not going to be able to afford it because they're going to run up the costs, utility costs for everybody, and everybody who's paying more electric bills and more gas bills. That means they're going to spend less money. So they ain't going to be going to sporting events. They're not going to be going to the movies. They're not going to be doing all these things because AI costs too much. And I think that is going to slow everybody down and say, hey, maybe we need to be more sustainable. And hey, maybe we need to figure out.
And they'll use that as the excuse. Because Amazon said, I want to read what Amazon said. They said, I'm looking for. It was they said the leaderboard, it was called Kiro Rank, has been deprecated. The spokesperson said the dashboard was an informal tracker created by a group of employees and was never intended to promote the use of AI for usage's sake. We're focused on AI adoption and sharing best practices to celebrate innovation and operational efficiency gains across the company. And we are proud of the way our teams are embracing this technology.
Sure. Now you are. See, that goes to the point. It's like, y'all wasn't thinking about none of that until shit hit the fan, and now you need to weasel out of it. So now we're going to talk about sustainability and productivity and real true measures of using AI to benefit without the cost and all the others. Now y'all concerned about that because it costs too much.
So cost of AI is too damn high.
So here's the thing. And like, I'm doing my one man play. So like, so you know what we could do? We could, if we really double down, triple down, quadruple down on this AI, we could use AI to do the jobs of all these people that we got to pay, because these people, they only work like 8 hours a day, and they want benefits and all this other kind of stuff. We could use AI to do it. Wait a minute. So now that we've gotten rid of all the people that we have left, they're not being productive with AI. Here's what we can do. Let's gamify it. Let's make them, let's give them some clout. Let's give them some points. Let's let them win some prizes if we actually just get them to use the AI as much as they possibly can. Because hey, we got it. We done implemented. We done laid all these folks off. We got the AI,
and we got to justify
the expense. We need to justify it. So let's get the people to use it. Oh, wait a minute. They're using it, but they ain't using it to do jack work. They just out there just using it.
Or they are using it and it just costs too much.
And it just costs too much.
They could be using it for perfectly legitimate work reasons. Like, this actually makes my job better at a cost.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't factor in that cost.
The tokens cost money. So like I said, going back to the one man play. So wait a minute, we done got them to use it. And as Terrance points out, they're actually even using it to be somewhat more productive than they are, than they were before they were using it. But the cost is greater than if we would have just kept the people that we replaced with AI to be here to do the job more effectively than AI can do it with these, the people that we pay more than the folks we probably let go because they're higher up in the totem pole. So it's just this big revolving door of, I don't want to call it waste, because I don't believe that all AI is bad. In fact, I think that there are some very, very good things that AI has done. I just think that, and Terrance, you have been on this literally since day one, so I will give you your props on this. It's like, just hold up. Before you force this on me and make me try to figure out how to do it, you figure out how to use it, and then come to me and say, hey, use it this way, and it'll be, you'll be more effective in this way, and we can see some benefit from it. I think that's kind of always how you've said. It's like, hey, show me the reason why I should use it and I'll use it. They haven't done that yet. It's like, you just give me these tools for tools' sake and telling me to go figure it out, and it's not working. It's making my job harder. That's what, if you look at the reports, there are surveys and reports, people really ain't feeling AI like the companies that are implementing it want them to feel it. They aren't. Some are, but in mass,
there was the COO of Uber, Andrew McDonald, said in an interview last week that he hasn't observed direct productivity improvements from increased AI token usage. That link is not there yet, right? McDonald said in comments that went viral. I think maybe implicitly there is more getting shipped, but it's very hard to draw a line between one of those stats and, okay, now we're actually producing 25% more useful consumer features. This is from an article on Business Insider. I couldn't link it because I'm behind a paywall. But there was another report from a engineering intelligence company called Jellyfish that said the report found that the top 10% of Claude Code users consumed about 10 times as many AI tokens as the median developer and produced only about twice the output. So it's just like you doing the most, and it's not even paying off for you, basically.
And these are supposed to be the smartest companies in the world, ran by the smartest people in the world, and they didn't have enough foresight to figure out that, hey, we may run up a tab that we ain't got revenue to cover.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't no economist. I ain't no math major. I don't manage money like that, but it ain't rocket science to say, hey, using this much AI is going to cost you one way or another.
Right.
And should we be using it at full blast without any sort of analyzing how this makes it any better?
AI and Anthropic sitting there cracking up and counting money and swimming through money like Scrooge McDuck right now. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting because you think about how much AI, it's not inexpensive. It costs a lot of money to use it. And one of the things that I do know, having spent a fair amount of time working for some very, very large companies, some that had ridiculous profit margins, is that, like, if you're a software as a service type company, you generally can expect an 80 to 85% profit margin. You make $100, you keep 85 of it as profit, and then you start paying everybody. But it's like, it's a very, very lucrative business. So when you start eating into that, well, we won't have less people, because people generally are your biggest cost factor. But then you say, well, we're going to place people more with AI, and AI is costing more than people. Like, well, hold up.
AI costing more than
because
people.
the chief operating officer somewhere is saying, hey, hold up. I don't know what y'all doing with the AI and the people, but I know that the people and the AI ain't mixing the way we want it to mix, because my profit margins are going down. So we need to fix that in a hurry. And then you move down to companies that, if you create hardware, then your profit margin might be more like in the 45 to 55% range. But it's the same thing with them. If you were able to get that 45 to 55% with people doing the work, and now you're using AI to do the work, and now the profit margin isn't what it was, it's like, well, hold up. We're making less money to be less effective with less people. Why don't we be more effective with more people? I think that is what people are starting to look at. I'm not saying that we're going to go back to the way it was, because I don't believe that we ever will. AI is here, it's not going anywhere. But I do think companies are going to start saying, well, hey, wait a minute. We're now 4 years in, November of this year, that it'll be 4 years for AI. And we're 4 years in on this. And we still ain't seeing a profit like we thought we was going to see it. Because here's what I do know. Companies don't say, well, I want to give you $1 today and you make me $1 4 years from today. That's not how they say it. They say, if I give you $1 today, I want $1.20 by the end of the month. That's usually how they say it. So the fact that this is, we're 4 years in and they're just not seeing the profit margin the way that they want to see it is going to make a lot of these companies say, hold up, does it make more sense to keep people here? Because the other part of this, and Terrance, this is another thing that you said, is that if we use AI to displace all the people and we're spending the money on the AI and the people are no longer getting the money for doing the work, then who is the customer? Who's going to ultimately buy the goods that AI creates? If ain't nobody got any money because they don't have any jobs, they're not going to be buying the things that AI does.
And I see you and then raise you one. Like Stephanie said, OpenAI and Anthropic is swimming in the money. Only for so long, because they gonna run out of tokens to give to the companies to be able to then use them, because they got to spend billions upon trillions for these data centers. Data centers are not getting built fast enough, because one, it just takes a long time to build a data center, and two, people are pushing back on the data centers.
There is a limit as X approaches infinity where all of this shit goes down the toilet. So Michael Burry is the guy that is the famed Big Short investor. He said he described token maxing as a crazy rushed temporary phase that's purely quota driven, leaderboard driven, management mandated overconsumption. And it's only happening because executives treat AI usage as proof of productivity and innovation. And it's not the case. And he actually agreed with you, Terrance, saying that the AI boom is getting more similar to the late 1990s .com bubble. So he's predicting that NVIDIA is actually going to see a huge dip because, once we reach that limit, that threshold where, data centers can't be built fast enough, ain't no more tokens to give out. We don't need no more chips right now.
And companies are in the hole millions of dollars borrowing money to build data centers that ain't gonna get built in another 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. Them investors want that money back, Jack. Yeah. And you can't got nothing to show for it. They go, all right, turn the switches down. Everything goes down, and now we back to a level. So I believe that AI is going to level set, but it's not because of, we should go at it a more smart way. We should go at it a more ethical way. We should go at it a more sensible way. We ain't got no more money. Mm-hmm. So we gotta slow down.
We ran out of money and the bubble burst or the bubble deflated. To solar plexus.
Yeah, the bubble. I was going to say the same
thing.
It's
not going to burst. It's going to deflate. And then we can all calm down.
Right.
Yeah, it's a mess right now. And you have Anthropic is about to go public. You have what is it?
Anthropic went public. They quietly, I just saw there was a headline I want to say either today or yesterday. Let me find it.
Well, they haven't gone public yet. They're just about to get ready to get their prospectus together before they do a roadshow, before they can ultimately go public sometime later in the summer, is what I would imagine.
I think what Stephanie's talking about is Anthropic filing some sort of registration.
They filed for their IPO ahead of OpenAI.
Yeah.
They beat AI to the filing of their IPO.
Yeah.
I think that,
Mm-hmm.
So are these companies going to make tons of money off of this? Yes. And that's why I don't think the bubble is bursting yet. I don't even know if it's deflating yet. But it's like, it's not being the balloon is not being filled up as fast as it was. That's where I'm at. It's like, I don't think it's deflating yet. I definitely don't think it's going to burst.
I can tell you, I'm about to go get me some Anthropic stock, though. I can tell you that much. I'm gonna try to get a share or two.
Buy it and sell it immediately, because it's gonna go up and it's gonna go back.
So just to be
Trying to
clear,
get me
we are not financial analysts. We do not give
no,
financial
at all.
advice on the tech job. So if you
Don't
go,
listen to me,
yeah,
y'all.
so yeah,
Ain't no be no disclaimers. If you take final advance to me, that's your fault.
Okay.
I'm giving a disclaimer because I don't want us to get sued. So, so there's that part of it. But yeah, it's interesting because it's like this is literally what's happening. Let's lay these folks off so we can pay for the AI, and then the AI is people aren't being as productive with the AI. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to go bring the people back. Well, if we bring the people back, well, what do we do with all the AI that we had? Let's
What we do with all
let's
AI?
token
Yeah,
max
it's
it.
a
Oh, well,
chicken or
wait a
the
minute.
egg at this
Now
point.
we had to bring people back, and we got to spend the money on the AI. We losing money, and that's really what is happening right now. So it's going to be an interesting puzzle these companies are going to have to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
So, y'all, this last story is one I think we talk about this probably every year because reports come out about it every year. But I found this interesting. There's a couple of articles. One was on TechCrunch. One of them was in News. It was on Crunchbase, and they were talking about VC funding for Black founders. And the article was like, VC funding for Black founders is up, but at the end of it, I have to say, but it ain't what you think it is. So,
However,
there is a big however there. $643 million has been raised in 2026 across 34 deals. This is up significantly, but the thing is that this is only 0.25% of the $252 billion raised overall. And one of the reasons that it's up is because it's all AI related. There's tons and tons of money being pumped into AI. But when you think about it, 0.25% of that is going to Black funded companies. It is up. I guess that's a good thing, but it is also not a good thing because it's just so little. So,
but then too, half of that was from one company.
I was going to say that Samba Nova, they raised of that 643 million, 350 of it went to a series
more than half.
E. So 350 million of the 643 went to one company. The rest of it was spread out, amongst the other 33. There were a couple really big ones in here. Samba Nova, you put it on a class of its own. There were some other ones that were in like $30 million range, and then everybody else is 14, 15, million. But the thing is that Black companies, Black founded companies, they're just, it's always been a problem. They've never received funding at any significant clip. The best that it has ever been was going back to 2021 after all these companies made all the promises they made in 2020 after George Floyd. And that got us all the way up to a whopping 1.5% at $5.2 billion. Last year, we were only 0.32%. Of the total that was raised. So we have come back down. And one of the interesting things that I saw in this company, and I'm reading between some of the tea leaves on this, is that it was not like VC companies were like, let's go fund some Black companies. It wasn't like that wasn't their jam. Some did it at a very, very low rate, hence the numbers here. But now the companies that were actually funding Black founded businesses, they're kind of even pulling back because they don't want to get yelled at by the federal government, because the last thing you want to be seen from a VC standpoint is that you are helping Black people do Black people stuff. That is just where we are. So I wanted to kind of have the conversation with you guys about your thoughts on this, and what are these companies to do? Because I actually did a little bit of research. I wanted to say, well, is there a reason why VCs don't fund Black companies, Black founded, companies? Is it because Black founded companies don't do? Yeah, this is very rhetorical. Is it because Black companies don't do as well as other non-Black founded companies do? And the answer is that they do exactly as well when they're funded as their white counterparts. Exactly, the numbers don't change at all. So, okay, well, what is the other reason that if the Black companies do as well as every other company does, the percentages are literally exactly the same, then why won't they get the funding? Oh, well, they didn't go to the same schools and they're not in the same social circles. And that's a big part of it. It's like, you network with people that you know. And if you don't know people, you don't tend to network with them. But that maybe accounts for a third of the of Black founded companies. What about the other 2/3 that are coming out of Stanford, that are coming out of Cornell, that are coming out of Harvard, that are coming out of the same places where these other companies come from? And like I said, I'm not going to say the R word, but one could deduce.
It's wild that that racism supersedes capitalism in this country. Like
Well,
like
let me
I would
fix
have
it.
I
Let me
would have
fix it for
never
you.
thought that,
White
because
supremacy.
well, that part, but still, but capitalism is at the top. Like I think capitalism
I don't believe
supersedes.
so.
No, obviously you're right, because we wouldn't be having this conversation. But it's wild to me that people don't even want to make money, that they want to hate black people or people of color so badly that they don't even want to make money. And that says a lot about you as a person, and your you know psyche and mindset and everything. Like you don't even want to make money, like, for real. Like
Not.
it just blows my mind. It just absolutely blows my mind that people would rather
Mhm.
leave money on the
Uphold.
table than make it with a person that doesn't look like them. Like, I just it's pathological. It's truly
Mhm.
pathological.
I agree. I agree. But that ain't stopping them from upholding what they believe is the way it should look. I ain't gonna get into specifics, but they will cut off their nose to spite their face.
Yeah,
I think I've said that. I think
yeah.
I've said a phrase
I've said that
before.
a lot. Yeah, and over the years. It's
Mhm,
funny, just a complete tangent. I was listening to NPR on the way home from the gym today, and they were talking to a guy who, some white boy that went to Stanford, and his parents are both very famous journalists. He went
mhm,
to Stanford for tech, or I think he wanted to end up being in tech, but he ended up working for the school paper and broke a story that ended up causing the former president to have to resign from
mhm.
as being the president of Stanford. And he wrote a book. This student, this former stay, I think he just graduated. He wrote a book called oh man, I forgot the name of it. How to Take Over the World, something like that.
Mhm.
I think that's the name of it. And he talks about how there are literally like secret societies
Mhm.
at Stanford where upperclassmen they work for the tech bros and the VCs in the valley to identify and recruit freshmen
How to
that
rule the
come
world.
in. Huh?
How to rule the world.
Yeah, how to rule the world. Yeah. They identify and recruit freshmen who they think are going to go on to have some big idea, and they started giving them not just pre-seed money, pre-idea money.
Mm-hmm.
So these freshmen don't even have a thought in their head about a business that they want to build, but they've been identified as a person who could build the next Uber or the next Facebook. And they are giving these freshmen, these 17-year-olds, millions of dollars in pre-idea seed money to build whatever. Whenever you build your next thing, whenever you have an idea, come talk to me and here's some
Mhm.
money. It
Meanwhile,
Meanwhile,
we over here fighting about stopping our
for
kids from
crumbs.
going to colleges
We
because
and fighting for the crumbs, the
Mm-hmm.
0.25% of money, but you handing a 16-year-old $1 million that don't even have an idea yet.
Mhm.
So if you think about it, this isn't today because we have NIL money now in sports. But back in the day, you would have, they weren't agents, they were just friends of agents. They were friends of shoe companies. They were friends of, Reebok and Nike and this and that and the other. This, somebody that your uncle knows has an in,
Mhm.
and they have money for the kid that plays football or baseball or basketball or runs track or whatever. Like this is today, this is all legal. This is NIL. What NIL can do for you now. But back then it was like,
Like, and he got
yeah,
game.
exactly. We're going to. I see potential in Jesus. Settler. I see potential there. What do we got to do? We go get his daddy out of prison to go convince him to go to big state. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And that kind of thing happens in the tech field. this youngster right here, they I don't know what they know, or I don't even know if they know what they know yet, but they gonna know something. It may make sense to give them a little thing, give them $250,000, give them 500,000,
That's
give
wild
them $1 million
behavior, yo.
just in case it comes off. And when you're one of these big VC firms, what is $1 million? Like I don't want to make $1 million not seem insignificant, because it is not. It is not.
It
That
is
is
to them,
it,
though. It is to
but to
them, though.
them,
It's play
to
money.
where
It's
these
play
VCs
money.
literally have billion-dollar portfolios, they take a flyer on these four kids that came in to kind of know each other, that was working on something in high school, and now they're all going to school and trying to figure out how to work on it. Let's get them each $250,000, and let's just see what they come up with. And we now are good with them. And
Wild
being good with
behavior.
them means that we might get that they might want to use us as their VC as compared to using somebody else, because it ain't like they wouldn't have options. But it's the same thing. It's not like you know, when you're the star basketball player, you wouldn't have options. But it's like, hey, you know, if Nike was allowing your mama not to have to work 3 jobs, you know what I'm saying? Then Nike
Yeah,
might be the one you go with when you sign. You know,
yeah,
if Big
true.
State is the one that can keep your job, your dad from having to work, you know, second and third shift. He literally is working second shift in one job and third shift in another job, and you literally never see him except for first thing in the morning when you're going off to school and he's getting off work. That might make you know what, I kind of like Big State. Daddy, you ain't got to work no more. I'm going to go to school here.
It's
the
just
same thing with
you
them.
know, a glimpse into the behind the curtain type shit, and it's just wild to me, yo. It's just absolutely wild to me. So this, you know, this unfortunately doesn't surprise me. Like I said, you know, the idea that racism would supersede capitalism is wild, but not surprising. Not surprising.
Yeah, it is. It's just crazy, because like I said, it's like, you know, black folks make up, what are we, like 13-14% of the population of the United States?
Mm-hmm.
To get
somewhere around it.
We're getting 0.025% when we're 14%. I mean, that number. Now, I'm not saying it's got to be equal. It's not even got to be. But we should be in the 6, 7, 8% at a minimum.
Can we get the 12% that we exist as, like something? And then the head of research at Crunchbase said that the factors that appear to be holding back many Black founders include, quote, access to networks, relationships, and early introductions, end quote, even in the increasingly concentrated AI-centric funding market of 2026. And, you know, that stood out to me because, you know, when we go off, okay, we don't have access to the parties in the valley, but when we build our own shit, y'all got a problem with that too. When the Fearless Fund was trying to do something, you didn't want them to do it because it was so like which is it? You know what I mean? Like, I know what it is, but I'm just putting the question out there rhetorically, because you don't want us to do it ourselves, but yet you don't want us in your spaces. So what is the solution then for people of color in this country? Like, again, rhetorical, but like, the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, what are we supposed to do?
So the president of the United States last night or the night before put out on Truth Social or wherever he posts a picture of a white family in a white neighborhood around a new car and on a nice sunny day. And I can't remember exactly what it says because I don't really try to follow the president, but it made the news and that's why I saw it. He basically was saying, is like, you know, the left wants to make this evil or something like that. But the other side of it is that, but wait a minute, those white folks around that, you know, around that car in that neighborhood, that's a red line neighborhood. Black folks weren't, even if they had the money, they couldn't move in there. If they wanted to borrow the money, the banks wouldn't lend it to them. So you're saying that you want to go back to a time where we were subjugated and lesser than what we are right now. And it's like, well, why, you know, why is that what you want? And it's like, well, that's in his case, I don't like that. I don't try to get inside of that dude's head, but it's like, there's no detriment to him. There's only benefit. If we can profit and make money off of Black folks without giving them the same level of access to everything that we can have, that ultimately means we are ultimately going to make more. And that's the only thing that I can perceive it to be. It's like, because when you try to think about this, doesn't make sense. Like I said, I told you the statistic is that when you actually look at funded businesses, black businesses that get VC funding and other businesses that get VC funding, all the rest of them, there is no difference in between how successful black businesses are that are funded and white businesses that are funded. There's no difference. If black businesses get the money, they are just as successful as every other business out there. So what could you be looking at? So, wait a minute. If a business isn't funded, because here's where there is a difference. Black businesses that have no funding, that are bootstrapping everything, they don't necessarily do as well as other businesses that can not necessarily get the VC funding, but can get the friends and family type of funding. That's something that we don't necessarily have access to at the same level, to where you can go to grandpa or uncle, Uncle Buck or
and
whomever.
And we know why that is too. There's systemic reasons behind that as well.
Exactly. So, and just to get back to things. So like when we actually do get Fearless Fund, we are going to fund black businesses. We're going to fund black women-run businesses because we know that they're not getting any money. No, can't do that. That's illegal. You're discriminating against white folks. We don't, so that just tells me that you have a problem with us getting the 1.5%, which was the best that we've ever had. 1.5% of VC funding in 2021 went to black funded businesses. And it has gone down precipitously every year since then until now. And the only reason now that it is up as it is because there is this, what was the name of the company? Samba. What is the name? Samba Nova, which is like a darling. They're doing very, very well. Got half of the $643 million, half of it went to one company. So that's skewing the number. So yes, technically, on average, we're up. But if you look at the median, we're so far down. We're so far down. And it's like, and I don't know what the answer is, because it's like you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Well, we have no boots and no straps. But if we make our own boots and make our own straps to pull ourselves up by, which black people have done for centuries in this country, then you say, well, wait a minute. Why are you making boots and making straps? That's illegal. You can't do that. That makes it harder for white folks. So we have to now do something different. As far as we're going to go after you trying to be upwardly mobile and doing the things that we just told you to do. It makes no sense, because why does it make any sense? Because
it makes perfect sense, Rob.
It makes perfect sense in the system of white supremacy that we live in.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, what is the moral to this story? Is that I don't know that there is a moral to the story. It's just like racist folks gonna do racist
life
stuff.
as usual in America. America gone America.
Yeah. So y'all, I'll look at the clock. Terrance, you might be proud. We're just over an hour with three stories. So I think that's the new format. We're gonna stick to 3 stories because it gets us in and out in about an hour. I have learned, so we'll continue to do this, but we are at the top of the show. So once again, folks, if you would like to support the show, there are multiple ways we can do it. Just like we told you earlier, we had a brand new patron. Skip L. Ives became a patron. You can head over to patreon.com/TechJohn, or you can head to techjohn.com/Patreon. You can sign up there. But we also have a store. So if you would like to get some merch, if you want to get some swag that has our logo or mask on it, you can head over to the techjohn.com/shop. And you're going to see a store full of stuff over there. Once again, anything that you buy in that store, if you do get something, make sure you take a picture of it, send it to us, let us know that you're using it. We'll talk about you, on the show, and then give you a shout out. So
I started to wear I bought 2 new t-shirts that came last week. I started to wear one today, but I already had this on. I was like, I ain't changing my t-shirt just to dirty up a t-shirt for the podcast. But I will wear it, and I will take a picture, and I will tag the Tech John in it. So that, folk can see a little bit of the merch.
Seeing how you are a host of the Tech John, I would imagine that you support the show. I'm talking about to the folks that's listening. If y'all want to support the show, send your pictures in. It's like Steph, you got a picture on our front page of you wearing a shirt that says Tech John on it. So I'm talking to the folks out there. If you would like us to shout you out, or to actually show a picture of you using something with some swag with our logo on it,
a little motivation for the people. They see somebody in it, they can see how I style, and I might try to zhuzh it a little bit. They can see what's up.
Yeah. So you could do that. You could do Patreon, and like I said, Patreon, you get some cool stuff as well, because we're gonna do an after party right now. This for patrons only, and we have some fun conversations in there. But until we get to the after party, let's end this show. Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph. Head to my website at stephaniehumphrey.com or tune in to Life and Tech with Tech Life Steph, Sundays at 11 a.m. on WURD, wordradio.com.
And you can find me all over the internet at BrotherTech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we're also at the Tech John, the Tech JAWN on all the things. So until we meet again in a week's time, come holler at us however you need to. Peace.
Peace.